Hello, everybody. It's your boy. What's up? What's going on? We're here for another episode of At Joel Cupcake Unedited. You probably already read the banner at the bottom. You probably see the headset, so you know what that means. Time for another guest. Oh yes, this dude I have known since basically I was a young man and he was a young man. So I don't think I can find a guest I've known longer to put on this fucking show. So I'm very excited about. So, ladies and gentlemen, my good friend Nick Arthur.
What's up,
Nick,
man?
what's going on, brother? How we doing?
I'm doing good. Can't complain. Just got some negative test results back for the coronavirus, and
Oh,
yeah, I was a
that's
little
good.
worried. Heard a friend of a friend came in contact, and I was hanging out
Uh-oh.
with them all last weekend on a little getaway. So it was good to hear that
Yeah,
everybody's
you had like a
results came
bachelor
back negative.
party-ish type thing last week, right?
Yeah, my friends were getting married, and they had to cancel and postpone their wedding literally a full year. And last weekend was the weekend that they were supposed to get married. So we decided to have a little friends retreat and enjoy and celebrate,
That's
one way
awesome.
or another.
That's awesome. Well, that's
Yeah.
good. I'm glad you're clean and safe, brother. That makes me
Thank you.
happy.
Yeah.
Real quick before we get started, everybody, Nick sings for a band called Molotov Solution, and that is the last fucking time I'm going to bring that up. If you are watching this episode to get the lowdown on the new Molotov record, all I'm going to tell you is that it is coming, and I'm not going to fucking ask Nick about it. So if that's what you're here for, just fucking hit the X in the window in the top corner. Okay, tight, cool. Nick, thank you so much for being here. I love you. Um, I've been doing this for about like a month and a half now. It's fun. This is actually, I'm going to tell the people we're going to do a two-part episode without giving any of the details of the second episode away, and it's going to be the 19th and 20th episode, which is like I didn't think people would care as much as they have. I already have over 100 subscribers. I'm jazzed, so I'm glad you can be here to tell your story, and so we can meet Nick Arthur unedited.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I love
Of
you too.
course, of course. Guys, I met Nick a long, long, long time ago. He used to be in another metalcore band from Vegas, and we went over a couple episodes ago. I used to tour with Arsonist, get all the girls, and do all that, and we just became like awesome. We had this awesome little Vegas connection with this small group of people. One of those groups of people turned into Molotov Solution. So Nick, I'm pretty sure most people that are going to watch this are familiar with the band
Mhm.
and all that shit. You've been filling in with the artist murderer a few times in the last couple of years between like CJ having a kid and having the issues with his throat and all that stuff. But how did people know that they can go to fucking Land Goat and see that, you know, I want people to get to know you. Like, take me back to like before we met, because we met. I mean, I was maybe 19 when we met,
Yeah.
but you were like 17
Se-
when we met, right?
17 or
Yeah.
18. Yeah.
Yeah. So take me back to like high school, Nick. Like, how did you get into metalcore, that world? How did you get into being a band? I don't even know. I met you when you were in LTB, but I don't even know if you were in a band before that. I don't remember because I'm a terrible person.
Yeah. Nothing notable, I guess, for sure. But I mean,
Okay.
I grew up. Um, I didn't have any older siblings, so I didn't have a lot of people to like look up to,
Okay.
um, in that sense for music and different things. But I did have older cousins. They were predominantly like into rap and hip hop, like LA based stuff. I mean, they
Okay.
loved Biggie too, but no cap. But uh, my dad was always kind of like a big metal guy and like hard rock, like
Sick.
90s alternative, etc. So he was big into Metallica and Pantera, all those, cool things. He
I
loves
did not know that.
Deftones and
I did not
Tool.
know that about your dad. That's sick, dude.
Yeah, I take him to concerts all the time. I've taken him to see A Perfect Circle. We just saw Tool not too long ago. He likes System of a Down and all that stuff too. So
So fucking, Tool's one of those bands I've still never seen live, man. Like,
yeah, it was pretty epic. I was really stoked. That was my first time seeing him too. But
oh, sick. Okay, all right.
um, so beyond that, I mean, I did like through high school and stuff. I guess I listened to like punk and emo and different things like that, which kind of slowly progressed up through like post-hardcore. Thrice is still one of my favorite bands to this day.
Awesome.
Like As I Lay Dying, metalcore, Norma Jean, stuff like that, into like Bury Your Dead, and then the Acacia Strain, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Until I guess I was Evergreen Terrace was a big one for me. But
Ooh, I
coming
love that band, dude.
yeah, coming
Burned
out of
Alive by Time or whatever the fuck that album's
best.
called
Yeah.
is like seriously like top 5 metalcore records, like period.
Fully agree. The first guys to do the singing with the fucking moshing, and it was just like,
It's
it
just
was
like
wonderful.
them, and then like I feel like the other band that did that doesn't get enough credit is From Autumn to Ashes.
Yeah,
Like
yep.
that band crushed it. They
The
did the
after
fucking
dinner payback. Yeah.
oh dude, yes, that fucking
Yeah.
the Fiction We Live was like that album's one of the like because I got into metalcore a little late, you know what I mean? So like that album was like I was like, oh, I'm here, I'm living for this. Like, give me the breakdowns, give me the
Yeah.
singing. Like, I loved it. I loved it. Anyways, sorry, I cut you off. Continue.
Yeah, no. So I have a younger brother, and he's like, at the time in high school, we spent a lot more time together, and he was kind of like into some of the stuff that I was into. Like it was more like the lighter stuff, like Comeback Kid. He was a big From Autumn to Ashes fan because of the singing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he kind of went a different way, and I went a different way, clearly, like with bands and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I tried to start bands, straight edge hardcore bands, anything to like. I was in a Christian metalcore band at one point. There was a bunch of stuff, and it just never really stuck. And then I was friends with the guys in Lynch Thy Beauty, and they saw me like jump on stage and sing along with a friend's band called Take. I'm sure you've heard of Take from
Yeah,
Vegas.
I know. Holy shit.
John, the singer,
No, the guitar
Maticus,
player.
Dan.
Dan, yes.
Dan, yeah.
I know I've met John a bunch of times, but Dan's who I know. I almost said I know Johnny from that band. And
Yeah.
I was like, no, that's not the one I know well. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Because Dan was in
Destruction of a Rose.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I did, they did that tour with Arsonist, so I got pretty close with
Yeah.
DJ and Dan and all those boys.
Yep. So when I was growing up, or I won't say growing up, but when I was in high school, Destruction of a Rose and Lynch Thy Beauty were like the two like big metalcore bands from our area, like the cool ones.
Yeah.
And they asked me to sing for them to replace their old singer. I was like, hell yeah, you guys are like a sick band. You're about to do tours and stuff like that. We were about to sign with your record label, blah, blah, blah. So started practicing with them. And then the first and only tour I did with them was Lynch Thy Beauty, Impending Doom, and Molotov Solution. And it was just a little West Coast run.
Yeah.
And I had already met you. You were actually in Vegas hanging out prior to that. I think it was for Firefest or something like that.
Yes, I was there because I wanted to see fucking Necrophagist and Misericordium.
Yeah. Yep. And then
because Misericordium, refused to ever leave Vegas to play a show.
Nope. They did not like
no shade. If any of them watch this, no shade. But that band literally could have been like, they could have been Job for a Cowboy if they had fucking left. But
in the MySpace days, they were there. That's where they were up at the top.
Yeah, it's whack.
Yep. And then on that tour, we got to hang out in Santa Cruz for a little bit.
I took you guys to the beach. I remember that.
Yeah, and then that was the day that you actually gave us the contracts to sign with Process. I was like featured on the contract because I was the only one that was a legal adult at the time.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I had to sign everything.
We're little BBs.
Yeah, they were like 16. Yeah, so that was that. Robbie, Molotov Robbie, actually hated me. Absolutely hated. I was like such a prick. Like,
well, I don't. To be fair, I don't remember liking Robbie when I first met him either.
Yeah,
and he probably didn't like my fucking wild hippie ass like that likes to drink too much either. You know what I mean?
And I was just a dick back then. Specifically to Robbie, I guess. I don't know. Probably because he was Robbie, and I was me, and I was like, "Fuck you, dude." But then after that tour, Lynch Thy Beauty dissolved. Mm-hmm. Sims and Kevin ended up joining Molotov as the bass player and the third guitarist. Didn't last super long.
I forgot they did the 3 guitar things for a while.
Yeah, just for a little. And then Jeremy toured a bunch with them, and then eventually when we did the tour, Jeremy was playing drums for Molotov. Jeremy and I were super close at the time, like hanging out every day. He told Robbie to try me out because Jeremy and I had been working on a music project together. Robbie tried me out, and I got the gig like that. It was, all history from there.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys released a couple records on a couple different labels and shit like that. So it's like you guys definitely had like a good like tenure. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And like I've always been a fan. I prefer like the older Molotov to the newer, which I know most people don't say that out loud, so I'm
Oh no,
sorry.
a lot of people do. I prefer the
Oh,
older
really?
Molotov to the newer
Oh,
Molotov. So
well,
yeah, I was a
well,
big fan of the self-titled,
okay.
definitely.
Well, so Molotov, when they had the old singer,
Hmm.
they got signed to that 12 Gauge Records, which is in San Jose. They did that split with
Yep.
War from a Harlot's Mouth, which is still the greatest band of all time. But
Yep.
that split was like, dude, like I knew the guys that runs that label. His name is Jihad. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
like I loved, like he showed me that, and I was like, this Molotov band is fucking bonkers, dude.
Yeah, that album was insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So,
So
and
I
then it was like
joined.
surreal to that I got to fucking get to know everybody. I don't remember liking Robbie at first, and then like we did some tours where I just kept running into you guys, and like you and I were always tight, and got obviously have gotten way closer over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, not to the point where we kiss, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But sorry if that offends anybody watching. You can just fuck off.
Yeah, please.
Um, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? And so like, but I just remember like, dude, what was that? Where were we? I was on another tour, and it combined with your tour, and we played some shit ass like VFW hall on the border of like Alabama and Kansas, or like somewhere over there. And there was that strip club across the street. And remember, we went over there, and the light girl claimed she used to do lights for Corn. And then like, so she got all the strippers to dance to new metal for us, like, you know. And I don't remember what that venue was, but I
Wasn't
remember.
it? It was it Destruction of a Rose and um not And Hell Followed With Blind Witness? Was it that?
Maybe I forget why I was there, but you guys played too. Like your tour combined with the tour I was on, but then like that was the night where like Robbie ended up getting pissed drunk, and like he got in a fight with somebody in your band or something like that, and like
Hmm.
people were on the roof throwing shit at each other. Like our whole tour package got really out of hand that day.
I can't even remember. I probably disassociated myself.
But yeah, that's fine. I barely like the strip club thing is like the only thing I really remember, because like that was when I was sober.
Yeah. No, I definitely, it rings a bell, but I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. But anyways, sorry, continue. You were
Oh, I was gonna say, so that album, that initial self-titled album, which is one of my favorite metal albums of all time, um, prior to even joining the band, when they sent it to me, I was like, this is insane. And then,
yeah.
just going through all of the words and everything, learning it, it's become one of my favorites. Anyway, I joined just after that album got recorded, and then
And they did not re-record it with you, right?
they did not. I'm not the vocalist on that album. Kyle quit after they recorded. The band reformed, and I had to then learn all the songs and everything prior to the release of that album. So it was probably like 5 or 6 months prior to that album being released that I actually joined, did the whole release process, and everything, which 12 Gauge was very hands off. I think there might have been some beef or issues with record labels and stuff, because I know Metal Blade wanted to sign us. So, well, turns out we had to crank out another album real fast for Metal Blade shortly after releasing that self-titled, so it didn't even get the attention or album cycle that it deserved.
Yeah, I remember that. And it was that's also awkward, like having to
Yeah.
release a record that you're not on. You
Yeah.
know, like why should everybody expect you to push that material
Yeah.
when you're not even on the record?
At the time now, that makes sense to me, but back then I was like 20 years old and I didn't care, and I was just like, this is sick, like let's just do it. But
Well, that's actually probably
yeah,
better on you for not caring back then. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah. But yeah, that's the story with that album. It that's a story with all the Molotov albums. They all kind of got screwed over a little bit by the
Yeah.
music industry each way.
Unfortunately, it happens to far too many people I've seen, whether it's from a management perspective, or we have this killer city release tour for you lined up, surprise, you're headlining, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, or it's fucking yeah, we decided to cut your marketing budget in half, so like here's your sick article on Lamb Goat, like go push the record sales.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
There's some bullshit, like that's marketing is like my big thing when it comes to like my bands being on labels, like as from a manager, like, because that's like the key. That is the key. Like, if people don't know what's coming out and it's not seen everywhere, even if you don't need the AP and all that, but
Mhm.
just like, spend a little bit of money so that like everybody on Instagram knows the record's coming out. This, that, the other thing. That's when I tell band members like, hey, you've made all these friends, like cash in. Even if these people can't physically afford to buy your music, be like, can you just repost that the album's out for me? And like, I don't know. I don't know. You've always been a guy that's like, you've worked hard, you understand that stuff, you've been good at it. I
Yeah.
mean, you're also my friend and you write music that I enjoy. So like maybe I guess I'm a little like impartial or whatever the term is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, fucking whatever. I was always sad that you guys have been on a hiatus, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like, I get it though. Robbie's killing it with his tattoo work. I know you've got like a real job. That's awesome. How did this stuff with fucking the artist murder come along?
I mean, I
Because I
guess
don't
I just
actually know that story, like personally, like, but I just remember you telling me, oh yeah, I'm gonna go fill in for them, and I was like, that's fucking lit.
yeah, it's nothing crazy. I mean,
Oh
when Molotov was still touring, we played a show we were on tour with Fit for an Autopsy and the Devastated. We played at Champs in New Jersey, and Thy Art Is Murder was in the studio with Will Putney, who
yeah,
recorded Insurrection for us.
yes,
Um, they were in the studio with him. They decided they wanted to hop on the show. We played a show with them, met them. I was like, damn, this is crazy music. These guys are nuts.
yeah,
They were super, super friendly and humble and just seemed like cool guys. Had weird accents, but other than that, like we pretty much made friends with them right away. There wasn't a ton of communication beyond that because I think Molotov really only toured for 6 months post that tour.
okay.
Um, so
I
we
remember
didn't
that
like,
tour. We booked that in Santa Cruz,
yeah,
that little place with the blue walls. Yeah,
yeah.
and there was a
So
big old. Somebody got knocked out, and the cops came. And anyways,
yeah, that was like every show. But no, like we didn't have much interactions with them outside of Molotov. Richie joined Fit for an Autopsy. Shane joined Fit for an Autopsy. Um, they had interactions because Fit and Thy Art are like sister bands, kind of like how Molotov and Fit were too.
yeah,
And then Richie left and went to the Acacia Strain, which also kind of became like a sister band. They released that Depression Sessions 3-way split EP
yeah.
together. They're all like good friends out there. So, I mean, Molotov stayed close to Thy Art through other members, not me. When CJ had quit, I almost immediately got reached out to by Marshy, asking me if I could fill in for them on a tour that they had planned. And they had already done, I think, like the Australian and American legs of the Ire Parkway Drive tour. And
That's right. That's what it was. Yeah.
they were about to do the European leg of it. And he asked me if I could do it. I got it cleared with work. And it was crazy because I was gone from work for like a month and a half because I was on a work trip prior to leaving. So I had like 2 weeks to learn all the songs.
Jesus.
Left for a work trip. On the work trip, I was stressing out because I was working, going to a fashion convention in Florida. So from Las Vegas to Florida, there for a week, partying, doing all that stuff, but still trying to like listen to songs and learn songs and like make sure I wasn't gonna blow it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I flew straight out from Miami to Frankfurt. Didn't really know anybody in the band, like had been in communications with Marshy, but like didn't know the guys
Yeah.
personally.
Like, oh, I played a show with you a couple years ago. Sick.
Yeah.
That was like our only interaction.
And I think I hung out with him one other time at Extreme Thing in Vegas, but other than
Okay,
that, nothing. So the TM is a German dude named Chris, picks me up from a German airport at like 4 or 5 a.m. from Miami, takes me to the hotel room. Everybody's asleep. It's like a weird hostel where there's like bunk beds and like random. And he's like,
Yeah.
"You're sleeping over there next to Sean." And I'm like, "Okay." Everybody's asleep in the room. I like crawl into the bed, put my headphones on, and like lay like down next to Sean. And I'm just like listening to the music, like learning the songs while everyone's sleeping, because we had that day, and then the next day was the first show.
Oh shit.
And so we after waking up and like getting acquainted, we drove to the practice spot or to the equipment spot, got all the equipment, and then drove to the practice spot. And did like rehearsal a couple times. It went pretty smooth. I was super nervous, but I, just hypercritical. And then the next day, the day of the first show, we did like a quick run through of like stuff that I wasn't solid on, and then the show happened that night, and I thought I was gonna die. I was so like stressed out, overcome with anxiety.
Yeah.
The first show was sold out.
You're fucking playing with Parkway Drive. Like,
Yeah,
that's insane. Like,
it was massive room.
Was that probably
4,000.
the biggest show you'd ever play at that point in time?
At that point in time, I think. I mean, we had played at some big festivals, and like sold out Palladium stuff and different things, but this was 4,000 people at capacity, pretty much sold out in this huge hall.
Music. Not your music.
Yeah, not my music, bro. The setup on the stage was all Parkway Drive's backline, and the first couple of nights, I barely had enough room in between the kick drum, and the front monitors to fit my foot.
Jeez.
Like long ways. Like it was so tight, you could barely move around on stage.
So you're stressed. You just learned this music. You're probably jet lagged / partying too much. And you're like, I can't even fucking use these monitors because I have to stand on them. You know what I mean?
Pretty much. There was nowhere to move. I was uncomfortable with the music. I didn't know how to move to the music. So we got into like a routine of doing shots right before we'd go on to kind of like loosen up the nerves, whatever.
Makes sense.
Yeah, but that first night was 4,000 people. Not bad. Wasn't a bad show. The second night was 6,000 people. Jeez. And then it was like all history. Yeah, we kind of just banged it out, got very comfortable with each other. I started having more fun on stage because I was less stressed out and more just comfortable with the songs. And then they asked me to do it again, and it turned out I was able to do it again. I did like a short leave and did it again later that year because they had tried out another full-time vocalist. They wanted me to sing for them full-time, and I just have no interest in touring full-time anymore. So they tried out another full-time vocalist. That didn't work out. They had a friend fill in with them for a while. He wasn't able to continue touring with them anymore. So they asked me to do it again, and I was able. So I did, and that was the Empiricon Never Say Die tour. It's like Whitechapel, Carnifex.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
Missing somebody. Anyway, it was sick. It was super fun. And that was when they told me that CJ was coming back. He just wasn't able to do that tour. And then that was it. And then last year,
that was like around the time he was having a kid or no,
that was last year.
The third time you filled in was the kid thing. Okay, that's right.
Yeah. So last year he was having a baby, and he left the tour like a week and a half early, 10 days or so. And I just finished that Architects tour, Architects and While She Sleeps. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember was it that tour that hit? Like, did you play Knotfest with them or something like that? Like,
no, I didn't. I
just remember seeing, like, I forget which video it is, but like I remember like one of those times you filled in. I like somebody sent me a video. It was like before it was like super public that you were filling in for them. You know what I mean? Somebody sent me a video and they're like, dude, there's like 5,000 people in this room. Isn't that fucking Nick from Molotov? Because you guys were on hiatus and like, I know I said we weren't going to talk about Molotov, but there are a lot of people that wish your band was full time. You know what I mean? And so like I have a lot of friends that unfortunately know you and I are close. Yeah. They're like, is that fucking Nick singing for Thy Art? And I was like, this is, like I don't fanboy a lot. Like I've known so many of these people. Johnny from Once to Play slept in my closet once. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I've known so many people for so fucking long that, like, I don't really freak. And, like, but I was like, it wasn't like a fanboy moment, but I was like, dude, that's my fucking boy. And that's like 5,000 people singing along to the shit coming out of his fucking mouth. Like, that was so sick, dude. So sick.
I mean, it's dope. It's super fun. I don't think of it the same way as, like, it's not my words, whatever. I love performing. Yeah. I love playing shows. I hate touring, but playing shows it's so fun. It's such a good like rush, especially when you're doing it with people that you have fun with. Like touring with Thy Art, I mean, it was very pampered. Like it wasn't the way Molotov toured, where I was like loading all the equipment and doing merch and like having to bust ass every day. I would wake up at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, stroll into the venue hungover, like try to recover a little bit before we started like drinking again. Especially on that Never Say Die tour, it was hard to
Well, because
wait
in Europe,
around all
well,
day and
yeah,
then
well,
play the
and
show.
in Europe, it's different. Like catering's different. Like you're actually,
Yeah.
you show up. There's showers. There's places for you to do your laundry. Like everything is literally brought to you, right? Like,
Yeah. It's so nice. Catering, food, I mean, just whatever you need. There's tons of beer. Like it was such a different way of touring than what I was used to.
yeah,
And it was so easy, so nice. There was no pressure. I mean, there was some pressure from Marshy in the beginning because he wanted to know if I wanted to sing with them full time, and I had to deal with like the idea of like trying to come back to touring full time or not. And it just came down to deep down, I'm not happy when I'm on the road. About a week or two at a time, it's fine. You can have fun, you can party, whatever. But
yeah,
like after that, I start getting very like depressed, and I miss home. So it's
yeah.
it's a
I get
hard
it.
lifestyle. But when you're doing it with people that you love and enjoy and you have fun with, it's much easier.
Mm,
We had our ups and downs, and I was a big contributor to some of those downs, but there was a lot of time that we spent on the road that wasn't fun. Most of the time we got along and we're having fun, but there was a lot of like clashes of ego and personality. And since we've kind of reconvened and like, not to talk about writing new music, but Robbie and I get along much better now.
yeah.
We did it. We
Well,
did
he's a much different, like, dude, like I love seeing whenever I do get to see him when I'm in Vegas,
yeah.
seeing you and the girls and everybody, like, and all the distinguisher guys, obviously,
Mhm.
like I usually run into Robbie and he's just like it's like so fun to see him.
Yeah. He's
And
definitely
like,
changed. I've grown too. We
yeah,
both matured, and we did that Australian tour. Molotov did that Australian tour in 20 like the end of 2014, and we get
that's
along
right.
so much better. We had a ton of fun. Um, like it, I don't know. Touring with IR was a whole nother story, but
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
don't want to talk. I keep wanting to talk about Molotov stuff, but we'll we'll
it's
let that
okay. Like,
we'll let that
because
happen when it happens.
yeah, it's well, yeah. There's more. I'm sure there's, you just admitted you were writing music, so I'm sure there's more to come on that from other outlets and
Yeah,
whatnot. So,
yeah,
but
we'll see.
yeah, well, like, what about so like, like, I guess I can ask. I feel like you're a good person to ask this question because like you've seen the life that thy art gets,
Mhm.
the treatment. They have a solid team. They're run like, they're all get
The
along. They're great
best.
dudes, but like they're also a well-oiled machine. Like it's a
Oh
it's a
yeah.
mix of business and fun over there. You've been in a band, and I feel like from an outsider looking in, I feel like part of the downfall, other than like the egos that you mentioned and like the clash of personalities in Molotov, I feel like one of the downsides was like you guys had a couple different teams, and like I don't feel like anybody ever just all like went all in and invested on you guys
Mhm.
from like a perspective of from like a team, from as someone who's done a little bit of everything in the music industry. Just the stories I've heard from you guys, I feel like there's certain time periods of the band where things could have been handled better. So like
Yeah.
what, when it comes to like choosing a team as far as management and agent and some of that stuff goes, like I know there's some people that are very timid and just do what they're told. I know there's some bands where like the fucking manager's basically like a figurehead, like
Mhm.
basically just like, hey, I need you to just carry the big stick and swing it when we can't get stuff done ourselves.
Yeah.
Like what's the number one advice when it comes to like choosing a team and trying to make that transition from like being a band who's small and tours till they're broke to like making the jump to try to get to the next level? Like what's the biggest piece of advice you would give a band from like, being around the industry as long as you have?
I think, like you said, you never saw anybody that went all in for us. I think that you want to have a team that has your best interests in mind, that wants to see you succeed, and that can show that they're willing to go all in for you. We got played by Metal Blade. We don't have any bad blood by them or with them, but we were like a number signing, and it was very clear essentially as soon as the record got released that they didn't care. We didn't get anything from the label. Our management at the time was one of the best in the game. It was Artery, and they did a lot for us. They pushed us as hard as they could. And then we started having, member issues and stuff like that. And we ended up then deciding to start working with Jason Majau. I'll never be able to pronounce his name right.
I thought it was
Jason
Magoo, so who knows?
Magoo, yeah, whatever. And he gave us the world. Him and Blackheart. It was unfortunate what happened with Insurrection, but before we had signed with them, me and Robbie were pretty much ready to call it quits, and they gave us everything. They gave us an album, music videos, tours, you name it. They took care of us. The issue that happened is we grinded out through the self-titled and through the Harbinger, even though they didn't get, they didn't deliver on their promises. We grinded those albums out and busted our ass and spent 10 months a year on the road and really killed it, all for Insurrection to flop because it was leaked by the publicist that was handling the record 2 months prior to its release.
I didn't fucking know that. I remember it got leaked, but I didn't know that that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, so he kind of screwed up. We got insane download numbers and stuff like that, but unfortunately at the time that was kind of before Spotify or whatever, so it didn't really contribute at all to our plays or first week sales or anything like that. And our first week sales were okay, but they were very disappointing, and that was kind of my you were done. The last straw for me at that point.
Well, and back then that was what year was that? I don't remember what year did Insurrection come out.
That was 2011.
So that was still when if something leaked, everybody downloaded it. It wasn't there was no movement for the protect your artist, blah blah blah. Now it's a lot easier. We're hey, this album leaked, but you should still protect the band. And more people, and even the PR companies and all press and those places will be yeah, their album leaks and that sucks, but you should still support the band. Back then it was oh, sorry, tough shit. You know what I mean?
So you just want to make sure that you have a team that you can trust. And it's like being in a relationship. It's like having a girlfriend, you gotta trust them, to look out for you and have your best interests in mind. And in the same way, you got to be willing to work hard still. You got to be willing to put everything, that they need you to do into motion, because at the end of the day, they're not going to hold your dick while you're trying to take a piss.
Exactly.
You got to be willing to put in the work. You got to be willing to, meet deadlines and bust your ass and get shit done, whether you're at home working or whether you're on the road, whatever it is. It's still that type of industry. So you just got to have that trust factor, I think.
Oh, dude, that's perfect. I agree. I have bands that they're well, what did you do for us this week? And I'm well, what did you do for me? And they're what? I'm like, dude, you're not staying consistent with your social media. You're not staying on top of the stuff. I have no new content. I have no update about the new record. Or when a band's hey, what did you do? Why isn't anything happening? And I'm you guys have been home from tour for 3 weeks. You haven't sent me over your numbers. We need to compare your sales from this tour to the last tour and see what your growth is and all that stuff. And they're oh, you know what I mean?
Bands that that are having that issue, if you and your members are the ones creating all your content, your social media stuff, whatever, you got to be on that shit. And if you're not, hire somebody to do it for you. It's simple. It doesn't cost a ton of money. It's reasonable, and it's one of the most important parts of being in a band and trying to tour and trying to get out of your local scene today.
Yeah, no, I mean, content and imagery, I mean, that's not really the official term, but it is important, because
live sets, music, any kind of video, anything that you can constantly just kind of be pumping out all the time. Yeah. One of the best things that I learned from Marshy too, as far as, I don't know, band management, whatever it is that anytime you have something to post, whether it's just hey, look at these cool photos of us playing live, or hey, check out this video of our live set, or whatever, here's a preview of something, is to always tag your merch store. If you have something to promote, you have something to sell. Always be selling something. Always be pushing. Sell shirts. Even if you just sell one, that's one that you wouldn't have sold if you didn't put the link up there.
Yep. I mean, shit. That's a great idea. You're 100%
Mhm.
right. I love it. I love it. Well, yeah. Well,
Pay
so
me, pay me for that.
oh, I will. I will. Sorry. Sorry. When I get all my bands to I'll make them watch this episode, and anytime I get that 10 cents, I'll send five to you. All right. Like, um, word. Well, Nick, I want to thank you so much for joining me. I'm trying to keep these episodes a little bit shorter because that's
Yeah,
the whole reason I
we're
started.
running a little long.
Yeah, that's the whole reason I started this whole thing is because I want people to like be able to do this stuff without a 2-hour podcast. So,
And you
uh,
and I can talk
oh
all
god,
fucking
all
day.
fucking day. Yeah, seriously. Well, anyways, so guys, thanks for watching. Nick, thanks for being here. Please
Thanks for having
subscribe
me.
below. Nick, where can everybody find you personally on the internet?
Uh, Nikki Infidel on Instagram, Nick Infidel on Twitter. If that's your thing, I wouldn't recommend following me. And that's it.
And I'll have Nick's links and all this stuff at the in the description down below. Um, yeah, I'm sure everyone that wants to know what's going on with Molotov, there'll be an update soon. So follow Nick on social media for that. Nick, I have three questions that I wrap with for everybody.
Okay.
We'll bang them out real quick, and then we'll call this shit quits, baby.
Sweet.
First question: what is your favorite color?
I don't know. Let's just say green. I like green.
Dude,
I like your headset.
you're like the third guest that said green, and green's my favorite color, so I'll fucking take it,
I don't
brother.
know. I heard a quote the other day, and they were like, "Well, I'm not fucking 10 anymore, so I don't really have a favorite color." But
Makes sense.
I like green. Green's
Well,
the
like,
shit.
I'm trying to do something different where like we talk a little less about the music and more about the people that play the music. But like there's still the cheeseball stuff that everybody wonders. You know what I
Hell yeah.
mean?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got you.
Next thing is what's your favorite food?
Sushi.
I see,
E-
I didn't know that about you.
Easy money all day. All you can eat. I'll out eat anybody if you want to put some money on the table. Come get fucked up.
I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Third question. Not final question, but third question. Um, you know, is there a new band or a new record, even if you aren't familiar with the band's other material, like what are you jamming right now? Like who's a band or a record that you think everybody that watches this should check out?
End.
And
They just got an article on Forbes, believe it or not. But End. Yeah, they're
I
sick.
know
That's
I
Will
saw that article.
Putney.
All of us were like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, crazy. They're a sick band. I like their EP from the Unforgiving Arms of God. I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, I
And
think.
the new
Holy
music,
shit.
they've released 2 songs, and they're both slappers. So
Okay, I agree. I'm 100% behind that. Okay, this is how I wrap every episode. I got one last question for you. Um, you know, uh, People watching are probably tired of me explaining this, but I'm going to explain it to you so you understand. There's a difference. When you go to a show, even if you're trying to be yourself, there's the way the fans talk to you and interact with you. And then there's also the way you have to behave on the internet for the business, political reasons.
Mhm.
But then there's the real you. You know what I mean? So like the people that know the internet Nick or Molotov Solution Nick that like don't know you, like I know you, like you must have like a quality or personality trait or even like an interest or a hobby that like maybe not a lot of people realize about you or know about you. I know that's kind of like a broad answer range, like whether it's like a hobby, an interest, a personality trait, whatever. Like, but is there something that you wish more people, or maybe more specifically, like your music fans, knew about you?
I don't know if I wish. I don't know if I wish that more people knew about it, but I'm gonna go ahead and divulge it
Oh,
anyway.
ooh,
Here,
ooh.
let me pull up my Steam account just real quick, and I'll tell you how many hours I've played on my favorite video game, and that's just on this account, not on my old account. But I have 4,476 hours played on Dota 2, which is something like 180, 190 days,
Okay.
like full 24-hour days. It's ridiculous. So
And to refresh my memory, Dota 2 is like the real League of Legends, right?
yeah,
Like League of Legends ripped off Dota basically and
pretty
got
much.
got a little more cartoony and popular.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Dota 2 is the largest esport, or of all esports, has the largest prize pool in history. But yeah, that's Dota 2.
Okay.
And that's
There
my
you go.
game. I still play it.
Hey, that's fine.
Almost 15 years later.
Hey, fuck it, that's tight. I mean, I tried playing League for a little bit, and like the way you have to interact and the different characters and knowing who does what, I sucked. I was terrible.
Yeah, it's a good release. It's a good way for me to vent some anger and scream
Yeah.
at people for a while
Oh,
behind the computer screen.
the video games are wonderful for that.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, Nick, thank you for joining me, brother. I
Thanks
really
for having me.
appreciate it. Everybody, like I said at the end of the video, well, not the end of the video, but like below the video, I'll have all Nick's links per usual, all mine. Please subscribe. I'm really pushing for that 150 followers mark soon. It was just my birthday, so if you watch this and haven't subscribed, but you just watch because you're like my friend, or you're Nick's friend, I'm one of Nick's best friends, so you should fucking subscribe.
Yes.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate you, brother.
Love you, man.
I love you too. Thanks for joining. Everybody that watched, thanks for checking this out per usual. This is my 19th episode. And like I said, this is actually a 2-part episode because Nick is going to be returning for my 20th episode, where we have quite a bit of fun in store for everyone. All right. It's been your boy, Actual Cupcake. This has been another episode of me, Unedited, with Nick fucking Arthur.